there is not an Ohio State press conference on this Tuesday, but we are going to talk about the Buckeyes anyway. Welcome to The Beat, presented by the Waterworks. It's television's Adam King, looking rested and relaxed for the new year. Mm-hmm. He's definitely not fired up, definitely doesn't have a ton of things on his mind. I bet he actually does. He does have a lot of those things.
First things first, all right? Let's just get it out, okay? This has been a debate with Buckeye fans since the dawn of time. You want to argue Michigan win or national title? We talked about this 5 different times this year. Well, how do you feel now, everybody? That's my first question. How do you feel? Do you feel great? You got gold pants? Congratulations. Everybody else is playing for a national title. But, you beat Michigan. So did 3 other teams. I saw a tweet, and I don't know who it was from, but it said, Ohio State has played out the wildest would you rather over the last 2 years. And it's over. That argument is done. Yes, you want to win against Michigan, but you want to win a national title 10,000 times more. And it's awful. This is just the worst week. It's awful.
It is.
All right.
And I'm Austin Ward, and Happy New Year. I think there is merit to that conversation.
Merit?
No, I mean that we can have the conversation about it because not every person in America wanted to trade gold pants for a national championship. There were some that did. I think as we move forward, and we are now 6 days removed from the loss in the Cotton Bowl, and obviously not an ending that anybody is okay with because Ohio State had the pieces to win a national championship. I wonder if there will be at some point an ability to appreciate for everything that happened in the first 12 games, including a win in the rivalry, which is significant. Not something that I think anyone would trade for another championship ring, Big Ten or CFP. But I'm trying to put my mind back in the June, July, August mentality time frame and thinking, well, if you got through 12-0 and you won in the Big House, things must have been pretty good for this year based on everything you lost. That's maybe not today, Adam, I know.
No, let me, you're exactly right. Let's start off with one caveat here. You cannot win a national title every year. Nobody wants to hear that. And I know that's not, nobody wants a warm blanket right now. Everybody's annoyed and confused. But that doesn't mean that this season was a bust. They did beat Michigan. They did go 12-0. Which we were handing out rings for 12-0 10 years ago or whatever that was. 13.
I think Central Florida would raise a banner.
Yeah, raise a banner. That is not the standard at Ohio State, but you still have to say, hey, you had an undefeated regular season. That's always an impressive thing to do. But
there it is.
Boy, I didn't get to join you on the Notebook post game. I had no voice. Actually, for those of you that don't know, I lost my voice a week ago today on Talkin' Tuesday. I gave it my all on that Talkin' Tuesday, and then it was gone.
Thank goodness that I had my dad's car
to
drive you to urgent care.
He drove me to urgent care. So
We're a team.
We're a team. We are. But with all that said, I felt like this is not going to sound great, the best possible way for Ohio State to not win a national title this year. Okay. And here's why. If Ohio State had gone on to the Fiesta Bowl and lost to Ole Miss, and mind you, this Ole Miss offense looks pretty amazing.
It's good.
If they'd gone on and lost to Ole Miss, or you go to the national title and you lose to Oregon or Indiana, you would have said, dang it, that stinks. What a great year. We should have won the national title. This hurts. The way they lost this year has a major, what feels like, not an overhaul, but a major, the word is escaping my mind, but it's like a major evaluation of every department at this point.
Self-evaluation.
Yes. It makes you go, what in the world just happened? I don't think a loss in the Fiesta Bowl does that. I don't think a loss in the national title does that. I think it's frustrating, but I think everybody says, hey, we'll see you guys for winter practice. That stinks. This allows for a world where you say, how did we end up with Ohio State being outmanned on both sides of the ball on that defensive line and offensive line for at least the first half of that game? How did we end up in a world where this offense, it looks, I don't even know how to describe it. It feels so much like if the play doesn't work, you're done. And I don't remember a Ryan Day offense ever looking like that. I think that's what always made Ryan Day offenses so tough to beat, is that if the play didn't work, there was always somebody coming open. There was always a ninth guy that you could find that out of the corner of your eye that was able to get the first down. And I think it allows for what I hope is coming this offseason, and I don't know that it will, but not an offensive reset, because it'll always be the Ohio State offense, it'll always be the Ryan Day offense, but somebody to come in and say, let's do a full redo of this. I will take the bare bones of this house.
Yeah.
And I'm going to build my own offense that takes everything you have here and makes it successful. Do you think that that's where we are right now with
I think it's a reboot.
Yes, a reboot.
Because if you think back to the scenario that brought Ryan Day to Ohio State, it was a college football playoff game where the offense was non-existent. The bones were there. They did not have to bulldoze everything that Ohio State did on offense, but when they were shut out by Clemson, Urban Meyer came to that realization, there is something that is missing in terms of the passing game that must be addressed. And at the time, it was, well, Kevin Wilson is going to help elevate that. But the secret was that they got Ryan Day at the same time to bring in that influence and expand the passing attack. And it took not just one loss, but multiple losses and multiple examples for some of that reality to sink in. And they did that. And the same thing happened with the regular season loss to Oregon in 2021 with a reboot of the defense. Because Ohio State had not ever, and probably won't, be devoid of talent or recruiting success or ability to acquire talent in the transfer portal, then the issues, in my opinion, almost always come back to schematic adjustments. You just can't tell me that a team with a Heisman Trophy finalist at quarterback, and by the way, still a very good offensive line, you don't have to win every week with the best offensive line in America. Mm-hmm. And we saw when they went tempo or when they did other RPO things or took the shots and had time to get it to Jeremiah Smith down the field, Ohio State was still looking like itself and had opportunities to win in the second half of the Cotton Bowl. But clearly, there are one or two or three things that are missing. I don't think it is talent on the field. I stand solidly on that, and I don't think that Ohio State's going to go into the season opener or week 2 at Texas in 2026 outgunned and outmanned. But if they don't take a more serious look, and Ryan Day has proven over his tenure that he will evolve and adapt and hire different coaches. That was a head coach of the defense with Jim Knowles, and then Matt Patricia took that to another level, and we'll get to the Matt Patricia of this all in a second. But they are now at a point where there is Indiana and Miami, not just one loss, not just an aberration, multiple games where they struggled to move the football in talent-equated hardware games. And that is what requires the serious self-reflection evaluation. And when you talk about the disappointment of last Wednesday, for me, it's because I thought that they would have already seen that and adjusted throughout the month of December, and they did not.
Yep. I think it was just very shocking. And the one thing that I continue to come back to, and it feels like something that is almost hard to grasp, is the pace of play. And how we got to a world where Ohio State has 3 offensive possessions in the second half. I mean, Ohio State's offense played really well in the second half.
Yeah.
They scored on 2 drives, and they got to the 50-yard line on the 3rd drive before a holding call.
Holding call.
That one holding call decided your whole game.
Yeah.
Not because, and I'm not putting it on the refs, I'm saying you put yourself in a scenario where you no longer have any opportunity.
No margin for error.
No margin for error. And so I just don't, that's where someone needs to come in and say, you know what, guys? I understand we're trying to conserve ourselves for a 16-game season. And I don't mean this as a jab, but you've conserved yourself for a 16-game season, you only played 13. That's not, I'll tell you this, I'd rather be tired in game 16 than sitting at home in game 16 because of how I slow played the offense. And I understand the mindset of it was genius, and it worked really well with Chip Kelly in that first year. Worked really well. But something was majorly off this year. And I think we can all agree it was kind of off the whole year. It felt like I always called it tinkering. I thought it was tinkering. I thought it was an offense that was very much trying to tinker with itself to see how much it could challenge itself in different areas. But then it came to be that like it was an offense that just ran out of ways to evolve or ran out of ways to put the pedal to the metal, as you say, when they needed to. And so whoever comes in next, and I do think it has to be an outside. I love Keenan Bailey. I think Keenan Bailey's a do-it-all guy. I think Keenan Bailey can play very much a Tim Walton role in a new offense where he says, here are the bones of what we have. I will be here every step of the way to make sure that these guys and everything works hand in hand. But you've got to go outside and you've got to get a guy, the sole job is to come in and not worry about slow playing an offense, not worrying about what game 16 looks like, worried about one thing. And I don't know how we lost sight of that this year when it came to the offense of Ohio State. And I'll admit I lost sight of it because I just thought they were so in depth with everything. The goal should be every time an offense steps on the field to score a touchdown. That's it. And it felt like this year we were like, well, they're tinkering with this, they're trying that. Okay, that didn't work. Now they're going to try. Like at the end of the day, ding. The goal is you step on the field, you score a touchdown. And if you're doing anything other than that, if that is the mindset, and I don't think that it was the mindset, but I do think that the slow playing inhibited the ability to score touchdowns, they have to get rid of that for the coming future.
Yeah, and I think if it is a Talking Tuesday, and if it's presented by the Waterworks, then you know that there's a lie detector question every Tuesday. Mine is still the one that I asked immediately after the game. Was there something that was fundamentally, broken is not the word. Was there something about the way that this offense was constructed, either the on-field personnel or the off-field coaching staff, that prevented Ryan Day from fully investing in going up tempo or altering gears or pushing the gas pedal, to use that terminology that we've talked about now for 2.5 months? Because he didn't answer it with truth serum or a lie detector on last Wednesday night. In fact, he didn't really answer it at all, other than that they used some tempo in the second half and it worked. I'm like, oh, well, I wonder why that didn't exist in any other scenario. There could be reasonable explanations for that. A preference from the coaching staff is one that we've talked about. Saving reps for the end of the season. In dealing with a relatively inexperienced quarterback or an offensive line that was getting manhandled. I would accept any of those things. I do think that it is worth pointing out that for as much as we viewed Julian Sayin as a finished product because he got to New York City and the stats were crazy, that was year one as a starting quarterback, and maybe there was some hesitancy to put even more on his plate, to go back to the week one terminology from Ryan Day with Julian Sayin. I don't know what the answer is. That's why I think it's the biggest question as we're looking back with the benefit of hindsight on last year and the way that they chose to play offense, through the good or the bad.
My question, and Talking Tuesday, we can ask anybody a question because we don't have any video availability.
We're making it up.
I'd like to talk to Julian and kind of ask him. It's not, obviously we've all seen the tight end running out. There were a lot of plays in this game that I actually think were great calls. I think the offense called a really good game. Yeah. It just didn't always hit. And Ryan makes jokes sometimes, hey, every play's a great play. It's just, he can't play quarterback. He can't play running back and wide receiver. But sidebar to the sidebar, you can't, when you miss on plays like that, you again hurt your offense when you take the plays off the field, when you remove the amount of plays. But
if they're all good plays and you gave yourself more opportunity to run,
to have more good plays, exactly.
It's a crazy concept.
I just want to know from Julian's perspective, what is his... It feels like there's a switch, and he's so good back there. He's a ball placement specialist. He can, when he wants to hit a spot, he can hit a spot. And when he's in a groove, he's in a groove. But there is a playmaker element of being a quarterback that, if you look everywhere across college football, has become the game changer in winning a national title. There are two things that I think very much matter, and I feel like we've completely skated over, and I don't know when it switched, but you have to have a veteran quarterback to win a modern college football. It's not a coincidence that for the last, we're dating all the way back to 2020. You had Justin Fields and Mac Jones going head to head. Like every national title game of the last 8 years has had veteran quarterbacks until you go to Tua.
But you can just think back to 12 months ago at this point. You have Will Howard against Riley Leonard.
Exactly. So, so that's not a knock on Julian. You cannot make someone a veteran. That's the one thing you can't do in modern college football. You can do a million things. You cannot give someone more reps. But I wonder at what point in being a veteran quarterback does the playmaker element take a next step? And maybe that is something, it's a switch. Maybe it's something where when you're back there, there's a play call. And Julian obviously can see the play that's called. But at some point, you have to take that next step where it very much, the craziest Buckeye example of this is take C.J. Stroud against, his redshirt freshman season and take C.J. Stroud in the Peach Bowl. C.J. Stroud was a playmaker in the Peach Bowl. He was doing whatever he could to keep that defense off balance. And he had to grow to that. So then as a coach, and this is for Julian and Ryan Day, it's a long question. It's probably a 6-minute question at this point.
That's fine.
They've wrapped up the presser.
It's a podcast question.
It's a podcast question. How do you develop your playmaking ability? Because you're not doing it in practice. You can't do it in practice because you can't be touched in practice. It's not real.
Right.
So how do you take that step from, here's the play call, I'm going to make the play that needs to be made, to here's the play call, I am going to elevate this play when it breaks down? Because the offensive line very much struggled. We all know that. But that was what felt like a Will Howard may have made a couple more plays even with that offensive line. A C.J. Stroud, again, veteran quarterbacks. That's not on Julian saying this is his first year. But then I want to know in this offseason, how do you grow in becoming a playmaking quarterback versus a very good quarterback?
Well, that's the thing, because, I don't think that you can put everything that happened last Wednesday night on the offensive line. I also don't think that you can put it all on Julian Saint. It's a combination of both. But when you look at the blocking and the amount of plays that Carson Beck, who is not viewed as a runner, but the plays that he made, whether they're extending to throw or running on 3rd and 11, those were savvy veteran plays. He's not explosive. It's a little bit more like what Tom Brady used to do for New England. Like the times that he had to, he would get it done, and he was effective at doing so. Because no offensive line, Ohio State could spend $10 million in the portal and get nothing but first-round picks. Now, they won't, and that's not possible. This is a hypothetical. A hypothetical talking Tuesday. No offensive line is going to win 75 reps in a row against any defensive line, but let alone one against someone with Miami's caliber up front. There are going to be 5 to 10 opportunities, just as there were for Carson Beck last week, where Ohio State got home and Ohio State created pressure. Carson Beck won those reps to help out his offensive line. There will be times next season as a second-year starting quarterback where I think Julian Saint will be more equipped to do so. And he wasn't last Wednesday night. And that did wind up being the difference. Again, that's not a criticism. That's not me being skeptical about his future. I think it's just the reality. Against Indiana and Miami, he was overwhelmed and he wasn't able to make those plays. So what you're talking about is, how can you manufacture that? Is it just the fact that you'll have that body of work and you'll understand, you'll be more comfortable both with the system or with the pace of play, whatever else it is, that you are just going to take that leap forward? Because I don't think there's anything else that he has to improve. Maybe he could be a more vocal leader. Again, that's a direct comparison to Will Howard, but Will Howard won a national championship thanks in large part to the ability that he had to make some bad plays into less bad or good. And everyone on that sideline was fully believing in his passion and the way that he led the team. And I'm not suggesting that Julian Saint doesn't have the ability to do that either. But if you're just comparing the way one season ended to another and the importance of quarterback play in this day and age, like, Ohio State did not have a veteran who was ready to meet that moment, in my opinion, last Wednesday night. Will he be better suited to do that in 2026? I think without question.
So, moving off of the Miami game, and I've said this before, and I know it sounds crazy, I think the one thing that makes this a little bit easier for Ohio State fans, and it makes the offseason a little easier, is that...
it's not going to be easy.
Well, now hold on. The offseason has become almost as interesting as the actual season itself.
Oh, so you're enjoying
It's
the
not,
NFL pursuit of Matt Patricia.
No. So it's not like that. That is obviously one that, because that is a hit or miss. That is either he's staying or he's not. That's not fun. That's
what I'm saying. No.
You just want to see I don't know, it'll be an Instagram post of, I can't wait to be back next year. And
run it back 2026.
Yeah, exactly. But when it comes to the portal, when it comes to this offensive coaching search, there is it very much reminds me of 2024, where when you walked off the field at that Cotton Bowl, it felt like the sky was falling. It felt like, what in the world? Mind you, Ohio State had just lost 2 straight games. They had an offensive performance that was incredibly lackluster, that had a lot of question marks. They didn't know where they were moving. Ryan Day was going to have to give up play calling. I mean, it is the epitome of history repeats itself. And I think I don't like to tell people to calm down, but I think that everybody would just take a deep breath.
You can tell me to calm down.
I'll tell you to calm down.
Yeah.
The portal works in weird ways. Okay.
It does, yeah.
Until you see a guy that is 100% a known starter for next year enter the portal, you're fine. And Ohio State, in all this time, has never had that happen. I understand Mylan Graham's a great player. Mylan Graham was not going to be a starter next year.
He was not.
Mylan Graham, has maybe wide receiver 1 talent somewhere else. He didn't want to play wide receiver 3-4. Mm-hmm. That's fine. Until you see someone who is a starter on the field, if Bo Jackson enters the portal, sound an alarm.
Wait a minute. This is the thing that you're telling me to relax about when you're throwing this
Whoa. Hold on. Calm down. Here's what I'm saying. The portal is a long process played out in the course of like 8 days.
Yeah.
And first day, Chaz Coleman's coming. Now he's not. Now he's going everywhere. The sky is falling. This is happening. It's fine. There's money involved now, which obviously complicates a lot of things. But at the end of the day, Ohio State is still one of the premier programs in college football. They still know what they need to win a national title. And if you don't believe that Ryan Day knows how to go out and get guys in the transfer portal that can help him win a national title, go 2 years ago, because he did the exact same thing. Okay, and this is gonna be crazy.
Uh-oh.
But I remember sitting in a Sheetz parking lot when Caleb Downs announced he was coming, and Buckeye Nation, you would have thought you won a national title, because a week ago everyone said, he's not coming here, he's going to Georgia, we can't win anything, this is awful. And then he won a national, or then he committed and helped Ohio State win a national title.
He did do that.
It's a lot of dust right now.
Uh-huh.
You got to get through the dust. But once we're through the dust, I think you're going to see an Ohio State roster that very much gets people excited. I think you're going to see an Ohio State hire at offensive coordinator that gets people very, very excited. And I think it's going to have a very similar 2024 feel when you walk in the Woody. Matt Patricia, please don't leave. And you walk in the Woody and look around and think, wow, this feels like a program that is taking on an NFL mindset to try to go win a national title. It's not promoting from within. It's not, okay, this guy's here, so you're the next man up. It's making sure that everything is shored up at the right positions to make sure your team is the best in the country. Just because a 5-star wide receiver goes to Indiana does not mean that Curt Cignetti is doing something right and Ohio State is doing something wrong. Okay? There's a million wide receivers in the country. Ohio State is going after wide receivers in the portal. They don't even really need them. They need them for depth pieces. Chris Henry, Jeremiah Smith, and Brandon Anderson are going to be your starting wide receivers next year. So
making bold peas on January 6th?
Is
that today?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, yeah. And
I don't know what day it is.
Yeah, I've lost track of time. But everybody's just, goodness gracious. I love the Twitter. You tell me to get off the Twitter. You would think the sky is falling. You would think the world is ending. Ryan Day is not even a full year removed from winning a national title. We're not even a full year removed. We're not even a full year removed from him beating Texas. And people have lost their mind. Twice. Everybody just take a deep breath. You are more than welcome to be upset about what happened in the Cotton Bowl. I think everybody around Ohio State is just as frustrated. Everybody inside the Woody is just as frustrated. I think what happened with Brian Hartline, we wish him luck down in South Florida. It ruined a lot of things. And I don't think saying that is wrong. I think it muddied a lot of waters at the wrong time. You can't change the past. But acting like this program that has been the most dominant program alongside Georgia in college football in the last 10 years has fallen from grace because they lost a Cotton Bowl game where obviously there were known issues on both sides of the ball that they're shearing up. Guess what? Spring practice will be here in like 3 days. And then everybody in the world will be picking the Buckeyes as one of the top 4 teams in the country. And also, sidebar, this is just a big sidebar. Everybody's looking at their schedule for next year. Everybody looked at their schedule for this year and said, oh my goodness, they have to go to Washington, to Illinois. Oh my, how are they going to beat Texas at home? And then at the end of the year, they said, wow, that was the most cupcake schedule ever. So make up your mind, all right? Yes, I understand they have a tough schedule next year. That's modern college football. Everything will be okay. Enjoy the process. I say all of this to say, enjoy the process of that moment when Caleb Downs committed to Ohio State was a monumental moment in that team's history. Enjoy these moments because they're just as exciting. Getting Caleb Downs in January of 2024 was just as exciting as winning the national title because it was all a part of a big, long journey. And if you just stand there angry all the time, goodness gracious, you can't just be happy when they raise a trophy and then say, what's next? It's a process.
The process is underway. Now you need to take a deep breath.
I do. I got my voice back.
You need to relax. Thank goodness it's not all the way back because otherwise that might have broken these microphones. But I enjoy the passion of television's Adam King. I love his insight. And I'm so glad that he's healthy enough to share it with you all on The Beat, presented by the Waterworks. This has been Talking Tuesday. You can find him on 10 TV or just every Tuesday right here on 97.1.
You can find me on Twitter. I love it.
Yeah, you can find
all your tweets.
He does live out there on the Twitter streets. You can find him there or here on 97.1 The Fan, 10 TV, 10 TV Plus, Apple, Spotify, Roku, anywhere you get the podcast only. But if you do that and you're listening right now, then you're missing out on Adam King's hair, which is just looking phenomenal. He has that built into his contract that he gets a private barber.
I did get my haircut in Dallas.
Yeah, see?
It was risky. I went to a new guy. He did great. Well done.
How did you talk to them? Was that?
This was pre-voice loss.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
He's Adam. I'm Austin. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you tomorrow.